Clinker Factor, the cement industry podcast.
So welcome to the Clinker Factor, a podcast from WCA, which looks at the cement industry's response to climate change around the world and other topics of interest. I'm Ian Riley, CEO of WCA, and your host on the Clinker Factor. Today I'm talking to Cang-Ki Lee, who is VP of the Korean Cement Association, and he worked for Sampyeol Cement and Sampyeol Construction for over 20 years. We'll be looking at how the Korean industry has dealt with some of the key challenges faced by the cement industry globally, namely the challenge of responding to climate change and the challenge of overcapacity. So CK, maybe I could start by asking you how you got involved with the cement industry.
Actually, I started my career at the financial company 35 years ago. After 5 years experience in financial field, I turned to be a cement guy. So I actually joined Dongyang Cement as a financial department, but I changed my career to strategy, and finally when I grew up to a CEO of Dongyang Cement. The Dongyang Cement was merged to Sampyeol conglomerate and changed its company name to Sampyeol. Starting 2017, I have an opportunity to work with the cement industry through Korea Cement Association as a VP.
So I think that's a great background for my first question, which is about how the Korean cement industry has dealt with overcapacity. So I think demand in Korea peaked quite a few years ago now. And since that peak of demand, you've seen the total volume of the cement industry, of sales in the cement industry, decline or more recently plateau. How has the Korean cement industry dealt with the overcapacity that you have?
The declining market demand is unavoidable. The whole Korean industry, not only the cement, is not going to expand rapidly. So we have to come up with a long-term declining of market demand. So our member firms decided to shut down the oldest kiln. Every members may be 1 or 2 kilns, so in state of shutdown now. Demand side, the long-term declining, and so we are struggling with the comparatively low cement price comparing with the OECD countries.
So what is the cement price now in Korea?
So around 60 per ton. In other field, we are reducing our manufacturing cost using alternative fuels and the other substantive raw materials.
So has the Korean Cement Association played a key role in getting the whole industry to agree to a downsizing plan? Or is that something individual firms have decided?
So all the individual member firms decide decisions. Yeah, basically.
Right. So they looked at the situation and they said, we should shut down our oldest, our least efficient kilns so we can reduce costs and reduce overcapacity. That's basically the logic. Yeah. Okay. And do you think there were sort of preconditions, or there were certain conditions that existed in Korea that made it possible for firms to make that decision? So the challenge in many places is that if you look at it from the standpoint of the industry as a whole, of course it makes sense, right, to cut some capacity. But if you look at it from the standpoint of an individual firm, maybe it's not clear that it makes sense, because if you cut capacity and your competitor doesn't, you just disadvantage yourself without solving the problem. So was there something about the way that business works in Korea that helped get that almost collective action?
Yeah. Now we are thinking about the idling kiln using for the waste incineration industry.
Mm-hmm.
Is it any good example in Euro countries?
There's an example of doing something very similar in China. Conch has a technology, Anhui Conch has a technology for processing municipal solid waste, which first of all dries it in a kiln, in a separate kiln. So it's a similar concept to what you are talking about.
Yeah, and so actually we have some legal hurdle.
Yes.
To utilizing our idling kiln for waste incineration process. So nowadays, the government body and not only the cement association level, so our member firms, they are eagerly discuss with the government body to utilize our idling kiln for making dedication to the environmental issues. Because landfill in Korea is a very high cost bearing field because we don't have enough, so abundant land size. So the landfill is a very restricted condition.
Yes, I think this is a condition that is faced in many developed countries now.
Yeah.
And the cost of landfill becomes more and more expensive. Here in the UK, that's certainly the case. And I remember when I was working for Holcim that in Switzerland, the landfill costs were extremely expensive. So I think this is something that we all face. So that really brings us on to the second topic I wanted to ask you about, which is the Korean industry's response to climate change. So I believe that in Korea, there's recently been a new green plan.
Actually, we are going to make a first step roadmap by end of June this year to make a carbon neutral pledge by 2050.
Mm-hmm.
Or not only cement industry, whole Korean industry.
So this is for all industries in Korea.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that the target is 2050, net zero by 2050. One of the things that we've seen from the latest comments from the Biden administration in America is an encouragement to have shorter term targets in addition to that 2050 target. Are you thinking also about 2030 or 2025 targets?
Yeah. So one of the subtitle was LEDS by 2030. We're gonna make two goals.
Right.
To set up. We have to make a roadmap to carbon neutral target to 2050, and also end of this year we have to. That's main body is the UN. We have to submit our LEDS goal by the timeline of 2030.
Yeah, I think that the 2030 goals are probably more effective in precipitating action from companies. 2050 is a very long time away. So
very long time.
Yeah, 2030. In the cement industry, if you wanted to do any significant capital work, you'd need to plan several years in advance. So 2030 is not so far away for heavy industry.
Yeah, sure.
So, what has been happening in the cement industry in terms of reducing the carbon footprint? You know, the traditional three levers we have of energy efficiency, alternative fuel, and clinker factor. Are these things that the industry has been making progress on?
Yes, we do not expect there will be a big, technology advance in this field, but very slowly we move toward the other stage of energy efficiency. I mean, actually, the using of alternative fuel level in Korea is very low comparatively comparing with the European cement companies. So first stage, we want to raise up our alternative fuel ratio up to 100%. We using 1.4 billion ton of alternative fuel in cement industry, but we are preparing using up to nearly 3 million ton per year. Yeah, we invest our feeding system and storages like that.
And what are the main alternative fuels that you're looking at?
It's waste plastic, resins, vinyl, etc.
Right. Yeah. So this is a big challenge where you have a limited landfill capacity. Then, of course, to solve the municipality's problem, you have to deal with all of the waste, right? So for the cement plant, of course, we like to use the lighter fractions that are easier to burn. But the challenge is always the organics with the high moisture. And this requires a lot more treatment.
I think that's a good point for us because, a lot of organic waste goes to landfill or, some usage for making pot tires like that. But as I told, the landfill, that's a very expensive way or no good for environmental sustainability. And so let's go back to our effort to improving carbon print. The first one is changing raw material and fuel. The second thing is, utilizing waste heat gas recovery power generating facilities. We generating powers 140 megawatt generating facilities, but we want to expand more in the near future, and also adapting energy saving system, so-called ESS. I'm not sure it's popular in other countries, but in Korea, we have a very unique electricity price system in whole year during some peak season, especially in summer season. Every individual house or buildings using the cooling system, electric cooling system. So energy demand, electricity demand is so high temporarily. And in daytime should be high comparing with the nighttime. So the peak hour and peak season price is very high. So we want to utilizing energy storage system. So we're using our waste heat gas recovery generation to fulfill the ESS during the daytime using the opposite side.
So is that using batteries, or are you using a different storage medium?
Yeah, it's kind of a battery, condensing battery. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, we had made the changing Korea standard in cement, using more decarbonized materials as a raw material.
So slag and fly ash and
Ash, yeah, low limestone, like that. Yeah.
so in Korea, have you started to see anybody produce LC3?
Not yet. So we are very, we heard about the LC3, low limestone cement manufacturing process. So we are very interested in. So in the near future, we want to have a chance to see the LC3 cement plant wherever we can see. Yeah.
So I think LC3 is very interesting. Also, it might be a way of using your old kilns, because you need a kiln for the metakaolin, and a rotary kiln is one of the possibilities. So maybe it would also be a way of dealing with some of the overcapacity in the clinker production.
Yeah. So so I think almost 60% of cement production cost is composed of energy consumption. So firstly, the energy price in the world is the same, right? And secondly, we are facing very strict environmental challenges now, so NOx, carbon, etc. So we have to cope up with the technology development to reducing that kind of emission and environmental protection and so on. So now we are very persuading our related industry like construction, etc., and even to government body. The cement industry would have an opportunity to dedication to environmental sustainability to make a self-funding market situation, because as I told before in 2 points, the environmental issues and the energy price is the same in the world. So Korean market price should be raised.
I'm sure that we can all agree that that should be the case. But you have experience. You have experience in the construction industry as well as the cement industry, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the construction industry they have a different idea, right? But let me ask you about the construction, because I think one of the things the cement industry has said for many years is one of the opportunities to reduce the carbon footprint is to optimize the use of cement and concrete in the buildings. Yeah, so that maybe you optimize the grade of concrete that you use. So, for example, you might use higher strength but less material, or you might, in a particular application, you can use a lower strength. So the cement industry has been thinking about this for a long time, but I've heard more recently from the construction industry that they also start to think about this. Are you seeing the same trend in Korea, that the construction industry is becoming more interested in the carbon footprint of the products that it uses?
I'm not sure, but in Korea, the nationwide new Green Deal project, I don't believe construction field is involved.
Right. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about what is happening with the emission trading scheme in Korea? What is the status with that?
So general case in the world. So we adapt emission trading system about 6 years ago. Now we are facing the stage 3 emission trading starting this year. We are allocated next 5 years allocation, carbon allocation this year, especially in cement industry. When you see the declining demand, so we are not really feel some difficulty because all the demand is sliding down. So, but starting this year, especially first quarter, I mean January to March, something different, trendy in cement market. So our first quarter market demand slightly goes up. So starting this year, we expect more than 5% increase this year and next year
in the cement demand.
In the cement demand,
So under those conditions, will the cement industry have enough allocation of carbon credits, or will you have to buy carbon credits on the market?
Starting this stage 3 emission trading system, we have carbon inventory for next 5 years. So starting this year and next year, so 5 years is a relatively long time. So now we are not very anxious about carbon credits now.
Yeah, so you have enough credits saved to last for 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the carbon price in the Korean market now?
So the highest is about $40 per ton, and the lowest is around 18. The average price was $30 per ton. Yeah.
Good. So if you look at the outlook for the Korean industry, you mentioned for this year and next year, it'll increase slightly.
Yeah.
If you look a little bit further along, do you expect now that the demand will stay flat, or do you expect it to increase or decrease in the long term?
So firstly, long-term trend will be low. But all the construction cycle up and down is very usual. It's an industrial trend. So the construction cycle, up to the construction cycle, this year and next year, so in 2 years, we expect slightly demand goes up, especially. So Korean presidential election will be held next year. So everybody want to boom up the economy and more construction.
Yes, we see this in many countries, that the construction cycle is aligned to the presidential elections.
Yeah.
Well, good. So, CK, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today. And I've learned a great deal about what's going on in Korea. And we look forward to our long-term cooperation between WCA and KCA.